Where we going with it? Now where we going with it? Where we going with it? What? Where we going with it? Ha! Yo, where we going with it? Ha! Where we going? Going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I seen kingdoms come and I seen kingdoms fall. You can check it for yourself, you can read it on the wall. Like graffiti on the wall, MenyetAnkh is what it's called. I taught y'all in the past, now I'm back to teach you all how to elevate and repent from filthy ways. I know it's hard, but it feels good to fast for 30 days. I got y'all searching for the land that's across the burning sands, where the men turn into gods and the gods turn into men. The jewel of the Nile is in the motherland. Each one teach one, so go tell your brother, man. You're feeling down, then you got to snap back like a rubber band. Lord, going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. Hey. All the words I chant when I come forth by day. From the night, these sacred chapters I recite. Do my voodoo every day till I feel some things are right. Speaking in words of power, speakers get blown. Ancient tradition, deep in your bones. Ancient wisdom, speaking in poems. Melodies take you deep in the zone. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. Too many youth wanna ride and die. I try to tell them about the I and I. In my presence, I got y'all feeling divine essence. I come through dropping jewels that's full of timeless lessons. Not Egyptian, I'm comedic, spitting poetic relics from the highest mind up to the skies to find where I am headed. I come when I be spitting, y'all be player hating me. I don't know, probably cause I'm serious like A and B. And C, we alike sometimes more than we would like. I got the gift of gab, I was born to speak on mics. Got raw in me glowing, now I shine like skies in Cali. I represent the hood and that hood is the Nile Valley. They call it Hoppy, the illest of the niggas. Nah, that's not me, I'm that golly representative. Spit the hottest sentences with the eye for rule. I see the evil that lurks in you. I live by 10 virtues that stops me from hurting you. I use oracles, so nowadays I plan better. Now I walk in the presence of God's angels and ancestors, walking my path, speaking in code, talking in math. I got an inner divinity, mental serenity. I walk in my eye, even on my path alone. And in these zone, man, I got heart like Indiana Jones. I'm not a raider, but a raiser of the lost ark, the monarch of a righteous covenant. You ain't liking it, you loving it. I show y'all sacred ways from the ancient of days. The metaphysical master manifesting the greatest displays of might control. Connect the spirit, mind, and the soul. I rhyme with flows that opens up your mind so you grow like the trees, but of course not the kind that you smoke, but the kind that keeps you rooted in tradition. I bring it back like how it was in the beginning. Going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack.
Hey, look. Labels blowing up my line and got me missing calls. Told her you ain't gotta hit me till you licking. Feel like ZVF, baby, I be cooler than the mink weather. Make a Coke bottle, give me brain till I think better. Back up on my again, hanging out with Benjamin. Franklin got me stankin' in the Lincoln, talking dividends. Look at what we did again.
Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, DMG the Poet, aka Brother Pianki. And y'all know what it is. We got the Queen back in her kingdom with part 2 of the power of living in Maat. Before she get into her spiel, y'all know I got to do my spiel. So let me say hotep to all my Kemetic brothers and sisters. God bless to all my Christian brothers and sisters. I want to say shalom or shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters. I want to say assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and sisters in the NOI. Islam to all my Moorish brothers and sisters. Peace to all my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, them 5%ers. I want to say what's up to all my Naga brothers and sisters. I want to say what's up to all my Abo brothers and sisters. Salute to all my atheist brothers and sisters. Last and certainly not least, oh, I forgot. What's up to all my Rasta brothers and sisters? And last and certainly not least, I want to say Jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters all throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. Y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you're Black, I'm with you, and I hope you with me. Our different ideologies should not keep us from uniting. We can have unity without uniformity. We can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. I know that last part is hard, but we're going to get there. With that being said, Queen, please reintroduce yourself to the Paradigm Shift TV 314 audience.
Maat, everyone. Good evening. I'll pretend I had all those greetings for everybody else within the conscious community, but I'll leave that for DMG. He remember everybody's stuff, so do I netta for that. That's all I got right now. I'm excited. I'm ready to kind of get into it. I know it's been a couple of months since last I was here, and I just started talking about Maat, and so I'm ready to just kind of finish out that conversation and share and build with y'all.
There it is. All right. So I know it's been a couple of months, and I had a few people asking, like, hey, what happened? I thought y'all was doing a series. And I'm like, hey, man, Queens.
Life in.
Yeah, they say life be life and queens be queening. So, hey,
I like that. I like
she got
that.
stuff going on. You know what I mean? So shout out to my man Jay Fax in the building. Hey, bro, I thought about you, so I had to make sure, you got to saw our divine sister do her thing. With that being said, my sister, it's on you.
Yes, sir. All right, so let me share my screen. Oh, and of course, let me change that real quick. Now I could be on here. All right. Here I am. All right. Can you see it? There we are. All right. So part 2 of the power of living in Maat. So just overall, I am Sanet Menyet Ankh Menta. I am a Kemetic practitioner and educator by trade. So that is all of my contact information. Should you want to connect or build or, just kind of continue the conversation. So I am not a priestess or anything like that. That is something that is especially important for my platform, is that oftentimes when Kemetic practitioners are out there, they are often priests or priestesses or something like that. So my platform is all about what does the Kemetic legacy look like for the everyday practitioner? How do we incorporate that in our everyday lives and just actually live this legacy? So All right, so last time we talked about a lot of stuff. So since it's been a while, I wanted to just make sure I refreshed our memories a little bit. Go back and watch the video, just saying. So we covered issues and problems facing Americans, but specifically African Americans. We definitely went over definitions and concepts. We are going to have more definitions tonight, not necessarily the concepts, but again, we want to make sure that when we are saying certain things that everyone has, a same foundational starting point for said conversation. So we talked about human needs, the function of societal pillars, culture, social constructions that we had a little bit of disagreement about, but that's okay. We here now. Racial minority development and just the different ways that different groups learn of their social status. Logical fallacies, bias, propaganda, and education. We talked about the difference between religion and spirituality. We identified who exactly is part of the Kemetic community versus what the internet loves to call hoteps, but Kemetic people hate that so much because that was an outside term that was kind of thrown at us. So there's that. But again, if you want to go back, watch the video. And then why Ma'at and Ma'at in 2024. So that's where we're going to be picking up. So for tonight, why Ma'at and Ma'at in 2024. We're going to understand what Ma'at is as well as who Ma'at is. We're going to go over the 42. I am going to give you all little bits and pieces, but I am not into reading to people. I very much trust the Neteru in you and your own motivation to want to study and expand. So I am not into reading to people, rather conversing. So I will cover some parts of the 42, but I will give book recommendations for follow-ups and commentary and all of that. And then application of Ma'at in 2024. So that is the light agenda. And I'm aiming for light tonight. So Ma'at is great and its effectiveness lasting. It has not been disturbed since the time of Asar. There is punishment for those who pass over its laws, but this is unfamiliar to the covetous one. When the end is nigh, Ma'at lasts, and that's one of the Kemetic proverbs. You can find that in Muada Ashby's Egyptian Proverbs text. So that's where that one's from if you want to look into that one. So in general, what is Ma'at? So I'm gonna leave that there if y'all want to go ahead and read it. Essentially, Ma'at with the small m is more so about behavior and how can I say, just morals, morals and values. So specifically, these morals and values shape us as Kemetiu. They lead pretty much the entire world, our worldview, how we understand the world to be. It is a very interesting mix because other systems may just talk about embodying moral living, but our perspective is that morality was started at the beginning of time. So the way the world developed or the way it came to be, and this is going to be like in a couple of other slides, but we have to we have to reflect this divine harmony, this divine balance throughout all things. So one way that I like to kind of talk about Ma'at is just natural law. Yes, we have technology now, and there are certain things that we can circumvent natural law. But generally speaking, if there was no intervention through humanity or through human hands and thought, this is how the world or the universe would just kind of unfurl itself. So the Encyclopedia of Ancient Egypt, I think especially for beginners, it's a good starting place. My issue with a lot of different books is that they are written by people from different traditions. So I've said it before, I say it again. Please be very careful. Kind of research the authors that you read. And this goes for no matter what they look like, what country they come from, just because again, it's going to shape how they interpret certain information. So the principle of Ma'at, and this is kind of what I was getting at before, the principle of Ma'at is an operational function. So essentially, the way when we have Ma'at with the small m, again, this is about the establishment of the universe. According to Kemetic thought, the idea is that the creator is pretty much self self-identified. I think that's the way I want to say that. Where through the power of Heka, or words of power, or here it's translated as magic, through words of power, they essentially claimed reality, spoke it, if you will. So there are the traditions that also say like the power of the word. Me personally, I interpret this much closer to like psychology, where this is more so self-actualization, that moment when perhaps we're between 2, 3, 4 years old, because it's different for different people. But we finally recognize that we have thought, and we can actually remember things. And this is when we start to have our memories, and we can identify who we are and say our name and kind of name the things around us. So it is very similar to that just consciousness. So in general, humans overall, back in Kemet, understood this reality to be something that is within, but also something that is reflected in the wider world around us. So when we look at the different wisdom texts, we can see a lot of the way things are explained are through these concepts of Ma'at, which again, I'll get to in a couple of minutes. So this impacts how we behave. This impacts how we treat each other, the earth, ourselves, our decision making, all of it. Everything is just interrelated. It's a very holistic look at morality. It's not just something that you do or that you aim to do, but it is literally your being every day. So if we do go back to Kemetic proverbs, make your life the subject of intense inquiry. In this way, you will discover its goal, direction, and destiny. So when we focus as Kemeti, or practitioners of the Kemetic, I was going to say faith, religion, spiritual system, whatever word you'd like to put in there. It is a requirement of us to constantly be thinking. And I'm very much going to date myself, and I'm very much going to put myself in the region of the tri-state. So New York, New Jersey, folks from out here, you will remember back in the day, there was Mayor Koch, and he would always be like, how am I doing? How am I doing? Like that's literally, to be a Kemite, you have to constantly reflect on how you're behaving, how your self-talk is sounding, what words you're choosing. There are other parts in the wisdom text that tell us you have to master the right tone, the right words, the right timing. That is where Heka really takes place, or your magic, your personal power, your your powerful voice. And when something is off, everything is off. So, I had to go to the mechanic today, and I'm just thinking of all the times I've ever been in the mechanic, but it just seems like sometimes when one thing goes wrong, it throws off the rest of the car. It is the same thing with our everyday life. So when we're thinking about Ma'at, oftentimes people will rattle off these things: truth, justice, righteousness, harmonious, balance, order. So I got a whole bunch, like a mix in there, because different communities kind of identify certain words, or kind of push forward certain words more than others. But Ma'at is all of that. Like it is. So sometimes people say, oh, like it is the balance. Well, sometimes, well, no, I'll even go back to go forward. What exactly is balance? Like, we can say these words, but as Kemeti, we have to sit and think, what exactly do these things mean? How do they look in our everyday life? So when I think of balance, I'm thinking In my finances, I'm thinking in the road rage that I try not to have every day when I'm in traffic. I try I try not to think about it with my coworkers. I need
How did that road rage go for you though?
um some days are better than others. We're gonna be honest. We're gonna be myotic. Um
Hey, real quick, my son said when you said you're gonna date yourself, my son was like, she said she gonna date herself like she don't look every bit of 30.
I I didn't mean date myself like that.
I said,
But thank you.
I
That's
said,
beautiful.
I don't know if she meant her age or if she just, but
I meant
okay.
my age. I but yeah, thank
My
you.
son think you a baby.
I
Maybe he hoping you a baby. I don't know.
I'm going to have to politely move on
Hmm.
and continue the presentation. So thank you.
Sorry, son.
um, so anyway, getting back on task. When we think of Ma'at, it really behooves us to think about what these principles mean and how we can break them down. So first, and because I have to do what I do, I went through each of the different principles and I wanted to look at the different definitions. So being truthful, being factual, so as commit to you, are we getting swayed by things that just agree with us? Are we swayed with our own thoughts and feelings, or are we really and truly keeping it real with ourselves? Are we keeping it real with sometimes Minyet needs to wake up a little earlier so that I don't have to be bothered with road rage? Because if I did that, then I wouldn't have to worry about that type of situation. When I think about judgments, so one of the 42 says, I will not judge hastily. So it doesn't mean that we cannot judge. I mean, that's part of being a human. That's one of those things that help keep us alive. We need to make judgments. But we want to make sure that we are making judgments that are ma'atic. And I think that is part of the beauty of ma'at, the idea of you do not have to always get and attain perfection. You can fall short a little bit, or you can, just kind of change your mind. It doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to look any one way. I especially like for truth, number 3, sincerity in action, character and utterance. So this a lot of times, or the way I interpret that is, when we think about our parents and or our siblings or our familial relationships, how am I showing up? My mom is going to be 79 in January. She is not going to change. I can want what I want all the time. Um, but is it sincere for me at my big non-30 age, much more than that? Um, would it be sincere of me to continue to blame her for her traumas, for her things, and to be selfish enough to think, you know what, it's all about me. She has to do these things because she's the mom and this, that, and that. I'm an adult now. So now how am I going to speak to her? If she does do one of those things that trigger me, how do I ensure that what comes out of my mouth is truth, but one that is truth that reflects character? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, my alarms keep going off. So just in general, like when we're thinking about truth, and then I also wanted to put some synonyms over there, just because, sometimes the definitions get a little more confusing than the actual word. So next we have justice. So oh gosh, which was the one I like two the best, even though like C1C is also pretty dope. So the quality of being just, impartial, or fair. So again, I have my best friend, and she will tell me some things that are going on with her and things that are going on with her and her child's father and this, that, and the third. And sometimes I just have to be like, I feel you. You my friend. I love you. But here's this mirror real quick. because at the end of the day, I can't just take your side because you're my friend. Like, at the end of the day, that doesn't benefit you, that doesn't benefit the kids, that doesn't benefit the relationship, that it doesn't benefit anything. So how do we take ourselves out of our feelings? So one of the wisdom texts also tells us emotions are good servants but poor masters. So how do we ensure that we are following justice even when it's people we don't like, even when it is situations we don't like, even when it's us who are behaving in a little bit of a villainous fashion? So how do we say, you know what? I deserve this consequence. So if someone loses a job, is it targeted? Is it personal? Or were you just really late a lot? Or were you intolerable in the workplace? Did you make the workplace more challenging for the people around you? So then how can you possibly say, I am a person, I'm a commit to you, I practice, I'm all about the legacy, and we got to go back to the ancestors and what the ancestors led us, and this, that, and the third, and then you're not even making the attempt of living by the basic principles, not even the 42, just the basic tenets of Maat. So next we have harmony. So pleasing arrangements of parts, internal calm. So are you taking the time to relax? Are you taking the time to, especially if it's someone who is a challenge, how can you restore that harmony between the two of you? Whether it be in, again, romantic relationships, maybe y'all fighting. And this is something, and I feel like I talk about this a lot, but I got this from a TED talk, and it was talking about emotional intelligence. And if you don't know anything about that, it's an amazing TED talk. And it talks about like the emotional intelligence wheel, and it just really goes into what emotions relate to. So it's like, oh, you're depressed, but it's really related to this over here. So it kind of helps you harmonize within as far as what it is you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and kind of help you to shift to be able to figure out what to do with that feeling. But that internal calm, like oftentimes, this is why a lot of people who identify as Kemetic practice meditation. And I'm not the biggest fan of Kemetic yoga. Please don't be mad at me, because I know mad people, like a lot of my friends, they'll be like, how could you say that? But this is why, the practice of Kemetic yoga, the practice of meditation is so, so, so important for Kemetic people, because sometimes you do need to just take a chill pill. Sometimes you really just need to do some deep breathing or mindfulness exercises, maybe some EFT, releasing, so that you can get that back to your center. We do live in a culture and a society that is constantly go, 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 that when trauma happens, we just kind of bury it or compartmentalize it, and we don't visit it again. But then our tolerance level becomes lower and lower and lower, and we're snapping at our loved ones, we're snapping at ourselves, and this, that, and the third. So that's getting to the point of what this woman said in this TED talk, where she was telling this story about how she was fighting with her lover, and he just looked at her and was just like, the way you're talking to me right now, do you remember that you love me? So when we're angry, when we're depressed, when we're sad, when we're involved in that negative self-talk, do we remember that we love ourselves? Do we remember that we love our family members, that we, and if we don't, then that's another level of internal calm that we need to make peace with some stuff. But how can we create this unity? How can we create this balance, this symmetry, this correlation? How can we do all of these things when we don't take the time to, as Gen Z, or actually no, millennials say this too, like go outside and touch some grass? Like, yes, making money is important. Yes, responsibilities are important, but as they say, if you don't take care of yourself, what's going to really um be fixed or addressed? It's just going to keep on with the same thing. So when we're talking about balance, physical equilibrium. So when I think of this part of Ma'at, I really think about finances. Am I indulging too much? Or I not just finances, but also like diet. So if I want to go out to eat, so it was like a month ago, my father's like, let's go to Cheesecake Factory. And I'm just like, oh, did I work out lately? So how are you balancing that out? Are you overindulgent with your spending? Are you overindulgent with your saving that you're not enjoying life whatsoever? Are you knocking yourself out all the time to save every single penny? And that comes with like that scarcity mindset that like I have to do everything by myself. I have to be independent. I can't ask for help. You know, my partner, people, you know, depending on what the situation is, like I have to be able to handle it. This literally happened in my classroom. I want to say this past week, and I gave the students a project and I told them from jump, I said, if your partner does not do the work, let them fail, let them fall. And I had 3 students saying, Miss, I had a Red Bull and I was up till 3 a.m. I was up till 2 a.m. because I wanted to make sure. And I said, why did you do that? Because what did you teach that person? That they can be unreliable and that you will save them and you will sacrifice yourself. Oh, no. Well, my grade, my grade. I said, so you don't trust me as your teacher. That's not balance. You should not be losing sleep over a project. You should not be losing sleep. Like, and I get this. This is like one of those, you know, you don't know my struggle type of thing. But when we think, as commit to you, when we think about why are you here? None of us were. Actually, let me go back for a second. None of us chose to be here. So it is of the Kemetic belief that, and there are other beliefs, other faiths that have similar beliefs, where your soul decides to come here and experience this incarnation. And you make that agreement with your parents. So either you're teaching them a lesson, they're teaching you a lesson, it's a mutual lesson, or it's, you know, it's some sort of soul contract agreement, if you will. And you come to this incarnation. And I tell you what, I do not think my Kaaba or my soul did not come here to pay bills. I did not come here to struggle. I did not come here to pay bills. I did not come here to be worried about paying bills. That was not in the soul contract. So when I think of balance, am I living my purpose? Do I know what my purpose is? Did I take the time to have the internal calm to figure that out? Or have I just been on goal? Have I always been in a deficit mindset? And as commit to you, we can't do that. Because if we are truly worth our salt, we're supposed to be living these things. So all of those are going on to now order. How do you give yourself the time to cultivate that inner calm, to take the time to have that internal dialogue about my eating habits, or I can't, you know, a lot of people, I can't eat healthy because it's so expensive, and you know, groceries are so expensive these days, and and you know, the people will say, oh well, have you tried being sick before? It's more expensive. I feel like that's very dismissive to people's experiences, but there are plenty of ways to continue to be healthy and eat healthy. But if you don't have the monetary resources, they're just a little more inconvenient. So, and I go back to the example of my friend. One time we were having a conversation about her finances, and I said, well, look, you can pay for convenience and be broke, or you're gonna have to switch how you do things. And again, being ma'atic, being a Kemetic practitioner, remember, we are not locked into it has to look this way. You can pivot, you can change, you are empowered to change, you are encouraged to change. If it is not within my it is if it is not going in the direction of peace, within yourself, within your life, within your family, within your career, your finances, your health, you're doing it wrong. You are doing it wrong. You are concentrated. You are letting Western living get in the way. And if there's anything that grinds Mignette's gears, it is people bringing Western living into the Kemetic experience, specifically American mindset, capitalist mindset, like all of those things. And again, it's not to say that there aren't elements of that from the past, that we can't look at the ancestors and, certain time periods, because it's thousands of years. So it's not like there won't be certain things like that. But again, why would you want to repeat the negative parts of history? The whole point of the movement, anyway, was to go back and essentially Sankofa. So why would you want to go back and get the negative? Like I think that's a really weird thing that I've heard people say. So propriety. I think this is especially poignant now in 2024. This idea of breaking old traditions and things like that. We are in a extreme time of Kepler, of transition. So how can I say this? There is Ma'at between tradition as well as modern thinking. So the proper way, and we do have a saying from the wisdom text, and I'm not going to quote it correctly, but it does come from out of actually no, it's out of the Hosea, that talks about wisdom is in the text. The ancestors left us wisdom, so it behooves you to go ahead and read that and study. Like, that is the whole reason for people to form study groups. That's why I form study groups, because it helps me grow, it helps me learn, it helps me understand. It's not so I could get on here and call people names and say they're stupid and pretend I'm smarter than them and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, because what was it that was said last time? Because I'm still not off it. Petty Patty about to come play real quick, because slavery was definitely in Kemet. So like that was not my the very idea, oh, you disagree with me, so now I got to be in the comments and this, that, and the third. Like, what does proper behavior say? What is proper behavior when you're engaging with the opposite sex? What is proper, between you and elders? Because that has also been something else that has happened over the years, with a lot of debates and so-called debates, because we all know how I feel about that. If you don't, you can watch the last video, because I go into that. But it's just a playground for disrespect, which again, this is why I had said the Aunu, the people who wear the trappings of Kemet, who read the history of Kemet, but do not actually practice this, break this part of Ma'at constantly, because they have disrespected Mfandishi, they have disrespected Baba Heru, they have disrespected so many elders because of their own personal opinions. Now, it's not to say that you can't speak to your elders, that you can't disagree with them, but there's a way to go about it. You can't just get on the internet and say, oh, well, y'all got elders, like y'all, they don't got no wisdom and blah blah. Like, why are you being so disrespectful, but then trying to make it that y'all are the only Kemetic temple that got it, the message the right way? Like, this, something's up with that. Because if you wouldn't speak to your elders, because and then they all calling everybody psyops because people disagree with them or have a different way of executing stuff. Like, propriety, like, again, if we go back to the text, what is acceptable on how we speak to each other, how we treat each other, and how we interact with each other, whether we like each other or not, there's a certain way of going about it. We can literally see this from world politics now. When we follow a certain I'm trying to, be as diplomatic as possible. When we follow certain rules of an exercise decorum, or rules of engagement, that's what, like, that's ma'at. That is like, if we are going to have a debate, there are rules of debate. And YouTube debates most of the time are not following rules of debate. Like, they're very easy to Google. But we, again, it's not ma'atic. So, and then finally, reciprocity. So, mutual dependence, action or influence. So, a coworker was talking to me about a book that I wish off the top of my head I could remember. I remember what it was about, but essentially, it was this gentleman. He's supposed to be saving the world, and he's like getting messages. And come to find out, the person who's sending him messages is like a super smart gorilla, and the reason why I remember this was like, I'm going to use this in my class. So I have it in my history somewhere. But the quote, when my coworker had me look up this book, it was saying that, humanity is not the only entity on this earth. Like, when humanity does certain things, it has an effect. And so how often in modern times are we truly thinking about the effect that we have, whether it be on the environment, whether it be on the animals, whether it be on ourselves, our lives, or the future generations? Why is it that nowadays F them kids is so popular? Like, what are we doing to the Hemamentu, the unborn ones? They're not even here and we're screwing up. And not for nothing, the African American community, we're already dealing with so much. But the fact that we don't practice reciprocity, the fact that we don't want to work with each other because of trauma, that we don't want to extend an opportunity to each other because of, Black people this or that. And it's like, that's not ma'atic. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't measure and have discernment about situations. I mean, you can't just, be loosey goosey with it. But this is not something that is beneficial. And again, it's not ma'atic. So this is kind of like transitioning into the 42 Tepra and Ma'at. So the 42 laws, the 42 oracles, different people, kind of say it different ways. So this specific poster I made for me. So most of the time, I'm not going to lie, some of the stuff that I create or talk about, I enjoy it because it's like I'm speaking to myself. I am reminding myself of, what it is I say is important to me, or what it is I'm supposed to be cultivating while I am in this incarnation. So this poster, I created it and I have it in my bathroom. So this is right above my sink. So every day when I'm brushing my teeth, I see this. I have this on my front door. So before I leave, I see it. When I come home, the way, like the layout or what have you, when you kind of come through the foyer, the first thing you see, and I don't have it pictured here, but it's a handwritten on papyri, the Seshmeru Necher of the 42. This is something that I do every day. I listen to it on my way to work. I read it when I first get up. I read it before I go to bed. I am constantly thinking about these things. And it is very helpful because some of these on there, the first couple are easy, but like, I will not be a woman of anger. Sometimes that gets the best of me, but because I am constantly thinking about it, I can catch myself and check myself before someone else does. And then if somebody else does, now I'm going to be doubly mad. So now I'm doubly making it worse. I'm bringing myself further away from my own balance by not taking the time to review these things with myself. I know when I haven't done something. So it's pretty easy. Like, what is it? I will not work treason or curses on the nasut. So I understand a lot of people in the listening audience may not have a nasut, that, or a person that they call a nasut or a king or a leader that they follow. So that's more so for people who are initiated into various Kemetic temples or shrines. Um, but when you think about, I will not work treason or curses on, who is the person who you see as leading you? So is it you? Is it your husband or your wife? Like, and when I say it to that extent, are you taking the time, like, "Mm, I can't stand that. Da, 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 da." You know, we all kind of fuss like we're 3-year-olds every now and then, like, oh, I can't stand them. I hate them. No, no, no. Those were, you already broke it. Just by not having mind or practicing mindfulness, not staying on top of your thoughts, or your partner might be that. So if you're sitting here thinking negative things, how's that going to affect your actions? So now, okay, I'm not working treason or curses. So treason would be like cheating. Are you looking at videos and scrolling on twerk videos and liking them? Are you engaging in conversations that linger a little too long? Are you liking coworkers' pictures? Are you liking your coworkers' stories every day, even 5 minutes after they post them? I got personal real quick, my bad, because that was a little weird. But anyways, I digress. I will not snatch away food. So when we see homeless people, are we freely being charitable? Are we, again, when it's time for a food drive, are we dusting off that old moldy can of something that we bought and forgot about? Or are we going to the store and buying food that's actually tasty, or something that someone would really want? Don't nobody want that nasty, dusty can of chili from from 2013. Like, don't nobody want that. Don't nobody want some dried up noodles that half the bag is crunched up because you forgot about it. I will not tell lies. That one's, that one's ridiculously easy. Are you lying to yourself? Are you keeping it real with yourself? Are you keeping it real with your surroundings? Are you like, I will not cause terror. So, um, that could be domestic violence, that could be financial abuse, that can be mental, emotional abuse. Are you taking the time to seek therapy so that you're not terrorizing the people around you? Or are you just, this is who I am? That's not okay. Like, that is not comedic at all. That's not ma'atic at all. So when we say, what is the relevancy of ma'at? What is the relevancy of comedic living in 2024? Like, these are the ways that they come through. So I wanted to share this. So this is specifically my YouTube channel. I really wish I worked on it way more. It has fallen by the wayside, so please don't judge me. But I have a playlist with this, and I listen to it every morning and every day on my way home from work. And it's just, and not for nothing, it's to the point now where I listen to it in 1.75. Like, I could do it with it at the same time. So I highly encourage, if you are a person who is interested in the Kemetic legacy, if you identify as a Kemetic person or practitioner, I made this easy for myself because, yeah, okay, I could look over it as I'm brushing my teeth, but it takes me a couple minutes to really just go through the 42, and then, like I said, your thought process starts going. So I made this for myself, but just putting it out there for people who might want to take advantage of that as a tool to be helpful. So where do the 42 come from? Generally speaking, they are based on the papyrus of Ani. So I did want to point out the Budge version only again, and I know y'all. I know what you're gonna say. Oh, we hate Budge. It's not accurate. This, that, that. I feel you. I feel you on that. However, the only reason I'm talking about this book, and just so we know, if it is this specific version of the book, from, because I have it marked off, from page 194 to page 203, has the wording. But this is why I like this version of the book, because you can actually, have the transliteration, you can have the Sesh Medu Necher all right there for you. So I highly, highly, highly recommend, even though, yes, we know it's not the best version of the 42 or the Papyrus of Ani, it's worth it at least. And plus Budge's books are like so cheap and you could download them for free. So if you have an e-reader, you could even just use that. But this is a very, very helpful tool. But this is also not a beginner's book. This is, even for some people, not even an intermediate book. This takes time. So I would definitely say, should you decide to purchase, read, study from this text, give yourself and extend yourself grace, because it has a lot of terminology. It can be pretty heavy. So just kind of take your time. But that's why I just wanted to point out like those specific pages in regards to our conversation. So I'm going to put that down. So if you want like a contemporary or more up-to-date translation, I highly recommend this book. So the Faulkner version. I will say, when I ordered it, like over there, it's like, oh, okay, that's good. Like, no, this book is huge. Like this, why is this? I mean, I know why, because it literally has all of the graphics of the entire papyri. But still, it's the most inconvenient book to like to bring around. So in the Faulkner book, if you want to concentrate on the 42, he doesn't have page numbers, which is also something that I'm like low-key hating, but it's pretty much right in the middle of the book. Okay, I feel like a librarian right now. Please forgive me. But it folds out. Whoa. It folds out like that, so you could see the whole page. If you are practicing, learning Sesh Medu Necher, this is also helpful, because you see the handwritten version compared to the Budge book. But the translation is much more helpful. The one thing I will notice, and I feel like this is going to be like unpopular thing, but Menyet speaks for herself and no one else, so I'm going to go for it. There is one part that some people translate in a way that says like, I will not lay with others of my same sex. I will not this, I will not that. And if you listen to the audio that I had, I recorded that before I really, really got into reading the original text. So I will give that disclaimer. But I did want to say that according to Faulkner, he says, I have not had intercourse with a married woman. And I think that that's a very important an important thing, especially in 2024. Not only are, we have married people doing all kinds of things. And that kind of goes back to a couple of times ago when I was on here and we were talking about the Kemetic view of marriage and relationships and men and women and gender roles. So again, if you want to go back and kind of look at that, that's cool. But I think that's very interesting, because in 2024, I would even put forth people who are in a committed relationship. Because marriage, especially from the Kemetic view, is about that commitment. So even if someone might be a girlfriend. Like, we know plenty of people who are shacked up for 5, 7, 20 years before they get married officially on paper, but they're in long-term committed relationships. So that would be my um addition or suggestion. Um because it does say it twice in there. It also says things like, I have not polluted my body. So some people in the Comedic Legacy translate that into, and they use that to say, oh, well, veganism, vegetarianism, so on and so forth. Polluting your body can look like a lot of different things. It could be, listening to drill music, like you're polluting your mind. It can be the movies you watch, the TV shows, the things that you call entertainment, the conversations that you're having. So I can say, some people within initiated communities, the idea is you don't engage in TT. So TT is like gossip, low level conversation, even tef. So like that's just like middle of the road conversation. It's kind of like gray area. You're not quite gossiping, but you're not really talking about anything productive, or, it's not necessarily always positive. Like, sometimes it might be like doing a lot of complaining or venting. And this doesn't mean that you can't, because, balance. But are you always complaining? Is every day the worst day ever? Is your boss crap every day? Is your partner crap every day? Like, do you have nothing nice to say about your children? If that's the case, then you are polluting your body. You're polluting yourself with the negativity, and it's so easy to fall into. The other thing that I wanted to point out, which oftentimes we don't really talk about within the Kemetic community, is that there are multiple papyri that talk about these tepra, these oracles, these things that we want to and aim to live up to. Again, we repeat these things because it is our belief that in the afterlife, you have to declare that you went through life and you were not that kind of person, and you want to try to best protect yourself through your amulets, through your heka, through just different actions and things that you do to balance yourself out between the negativity. But also, like, toxic positivity does exist. It's a thing. So anyways, the papyri or the papyrus of Nu is also another one. This is from, and I'm going to just leave this here and run my mouth so y'all can feel free to read. But this is another papyrus that, it's very helpful when you look at the various papyri, because they were individual. Like, when people had these things written, it was for you personally. And the things that you struggle with, your job, your life condition. So, like, for example, if I was a soldier and I had my own, and granted, this is like a not quite for back then, because depending on the time period, soldiers and they wouldn't be traversing the afterlife anyway, but I digress. So but saying like, I will not kill, if that's your job, you know what I mean? Like, so it would probably be phrased in a little bit of a different way. Now, this is not to say or encourage people to be tricksters and say, oh, I don't have a problem with this and that, whatever, because again, your papyrus would be getting written by a scribe. It would be advised through oracle. It would be kind of put forth by priests and priestesses. So it's not something that you're writing yourself by any means. But again, this is supposed to be a helpful tool for the afterlife. So as modern practitioners, and I'm just going to kind of go ahead. So if y'all want to look through the list as I'm yapping, then sorry. I lost my thought because I started thinking about Gen Alpha terminology. My bad. I was laughing at that to myself. But again, the idea is that when we're thinking about Ma'at, what is the reciprocal way? What is the way of balance? What is the way of order to preparing ourselves to live this life? And again, because a lot of time people are like, oh no, committee, they worship like the dead and their ancestors, and they're all about dying and death. Like that is such a misconception, because you know what? We all are going to die. That's crazy, right? We all come here to accomplish whatever it is. Everybody has their own thing that they're supposed to do, and then we go. Now, maybe we might come back and be reincarnated. Maybe we might move on to the field of reeds, you know, depending on what people's beliefs are. But the idea is, even let's say, even from an atheist perspective, and people say, you know, oh, there's no such thing when you're dead, you know, that's it. If you were to read these things every day, like I have not committed sins against men, I have not opposed my family and kinfolk, I have not acted fraudulently in the seed of truth. If you're sitting and thinking about these things that you say are important to you, the kind of person you want to be, the elevated Haru, if you will, you don't need to wait to die and wait for the afterlife to have regret, to feel stagnant, to feel angry, to feel resentful. And literally, that's what Ma'at is about here on earth. Like, you do not have to have those experiences. Like, what is it? There's one specifically that I wanted to talk about. I have not caused calamities to befall men and women. That is kind of one, but that would go to my road rage. Like, if I'm so out of control, now I might cause an accident, and now somebody might pass away, and now some children are not going to have their father, all because I didn't wake up earlier. And like, even so I live in an apartment building, and I want to say about a month ago, a neighbor who lived down the hallway passed away. And he passed away because he had gone out at 2 something in the morning, and he was very much known to be a drinker and indulging in other mind altering things. And he was driving a moped, got on the highway, and I assume he thought, because it's 2 a.m., like, you know, no big deal. He entered the highway, he got clipped by a car, and then ran over by 2 other cars. Now, you know, rest his soul, or, you know, however you want to say that, you know. But I can only imagine what it would feel like to be a person, to see someone at the last minute and run them over with your car and feel your car go over their body. And that is something that's like, oh my God, I don't know if I could live with myself. I mean, I would have to, but all because he made a decision. Those people have to live with that memory. And it's just, again, wild, the things that we do unknowingly, like not thinking about it, but yet it has an effect. So again, like, we don't need to worry about the afterlife or Netaru or anything like that to just truly understand why this is important, to be aware of ourselves, what we're doing, and how we're moving through life. So the one distinction I want to make about this, with the Papyrus of Nu, is that it ends with, I am pure, I am pure, I am pure. My pure offerings are the pure offerings of the great Benu, which dwelleth in Hensu, blah, 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 blah. Y'all can read the rest. But that is very different of a feature compared to Papyrus of Ani. So purity is something that, especially within Commit to You, and granted, we also understand that a lot of the literature is things for people who are of higher means, for royalty, for scribes, for priests and things like that. So we don't necessarily have the everyday person. They may not necessarily emphasize purity because of their status, but in 2024, the emphasis of purity, whether it be priests and priestesses or just the everyday practitioner, our hygiene. So, and I'm not just saying like physical hygiene, although I am kind of saying physical hygiene just because there are a lot of videos and conversations going on social media these days about different groups of people and how often they bathe or not often they bathe or what they use to bathe, and things like that. But again, just the idea of like when people go through certain trauma, when people are depressed, they don't practice hygiene the way they should. They also, and if we're not talking about physical hygiene, again, we could talk about emotional hygiene. We can talk about spiritual hygiene, sexual hygiene, like this idea of being pure, this idea of preserving one's essence is part of Ma'at. This idea that, how can I say? You are a reflection of the divine. You are one with the divine. So I remember one time, my brother, he said one time, if you would go out on a date and take the time to dress and bathe and adorn and this, that, and the third, when you go into prayer, when you go into meditation, do you have that same level of preparation? And ever since he said that, I was like, oh, you're right. Like, we take more time getting ready to look nice for work, for the gym, for that person who's at our job that, we shouldn't be caring about, or the person, where else do people meet people? Tell me you're a homebody without telling me you're a homebody. But again, it's just the idea of like, we will do more for people. We will do more for, people who don't even care about us, than we do for ourselves, let alone for Necha or the Necharu, or, again, whatever faith you are. So this brings us to the Maju, Semenket, and Sheti, or the 10 virtues of an initiate. So if the 42 just seems to be like, oh my gosh, that is too much. I can't read that every day. I can't listen to that every day. Like, it's just too much. I don't have the time. You can shift and look at the 10 virtues. So these are helpful for, it's especially for people who are initiated, aim to initiate, or want to take the Kemetic legacy more seriously. So discipline. This is a conversation I've been having a lot lately where, so many people look at discipline as something that is punitive, but rather, my humble opinion, discipline is very freeing. It's very freeing because it's like you understand where you fit into everything. You understand who you are. You understand what you want to cultivate. You don't have to sit in that place of lack, or what if, or if something goes wrong, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, you don't have to, because my thoughts are always so disciplined that I know, oop, that's my emotions going out of whack. Oop, that's a trigger. That's a trauma response. I know what to do with that. I know I don't need to eat that extra piece of cake because I'm emotional eating. I don't need to, sit and watch Netflix for a whole weekend because I want to work on painting. I want to work on, I don't know, traveling, going back to school, different things that people want to do. 4. I really like number 4 because especially in the conscious community, we are very quick to want to follow people and just as quick, if not faster, to drop them because of the most minor disagreement. Um, I highly encourage people to really work on number 4, but part of number 4 is taking the time to actually learn about your teacher before you decide you want to be a follower of them. Oftentimes, we treat teachers like toxic relationships when we're 17, and we're just like, oh my God, they like me. Oh, they're so smart. They're so nice. They're this, they're that. And then we're just like, oh, they teaching me some stuff. I don't know if that's sitting right. I don't know if that's in alignment. Or, oh, they're so horrible. So now, you're breaking the 42 because you didn't take your time to really decide or let unravel if this is a person who you feel is in alignment for your spiritual, mental, emotional, like, because teacher can be, in many different areas, financial. We see this now with like a lot of the people with the red pill and just what is it, like Fit and Fresh, and people are just like, oh my God, they're so great, they're so great. And then now all of these things are coming out that they're paying for ladies. um, that they are, involved in things that are exactly the opposite of what they're supposed to be teaching other people. Or I forget the two guys, but the two it's a brown skinned gentleman and a light skinned gentleman, and they're from the UK. And I think it was like a month ago. And usually the snippets you see of them are like them reading silly situations. um and they did an interview on somebody else's show, and they were pretty much like bashing um Black women. And the internet was, oh my gosh, how could, like, this is so horrible, we need to cancel them. And it's just like, well, you all were giving them all the clicks and all the views, and you never took the time to like find out what they're about, or what their philosophy is. So it's something that's simple, that's just entertainment on the internet. But when it's a teacher, we need to use more discernment. So faith that you can learn the truth, faith in yourself to use the truth. So sometimes our negative programming or our fixed mindsets might oh, I can't do that, or we over worry, or, oh, I don't trust myself to do blah blah blah. So all of that, this is like an abbreviated version of the 42, but I definitely recommend doing them in tandem with each other. But again, if you wanted, I guess, a shortcut, if you will. So when you embark on the lake of Maat, may you sail on it with a good wind. May no storm tear away your sail, nor your boat lag behind. May no misfortune fall on your mast. I was supposed to have a space there, sorry. And may your mainstays not snap. May you not run aground, nor the current carry you away. So I really liked this one. This is from the book of Kunanup. And I just love the visual of that. And I'm just like, I'm a beach, boat, water person. So the visual of this for me was very fitting for Ma'at. It's this idea of sometimes there are going to be rough times, and that's part of Ma'at. Like, negativity is going to happen. Positivity is going to happen. So if you're somebody who read, what was that book? Oh my gosh. I think it was the Kabylion, and they were talking about like things going in tandem, and sometimes it goes this way and sometimes it goes that way. So it's the same type of concept of it's never going to be all good, it's never going to be all bad, but how do you handle it when you go in these different directions? So now we're moving into who is Ma'at. So these are some of Ma'at's epithets. So Lady of the Hall of Judgment, food of the gods or the Necharu, she of right order, sustainer of the sun, the changeless, the good gift, et cetera, et cetera. And those are the different ways that you can write her name. So this is what I wanted to start out with when we're talking about Ma'at overall, because we have the principles, we have the ideas, the morals of Ma'at, but then we have the Natert, which is capital M, Ma'at. So when we look at Ma'at, we know she is the Natert of truth, justice, divine order, cosmic order, balance. She usually has wings, so sometimes you will see her with like wings. Sometimes you'll also see her set like that. Please pay attention to what they're wearing, and that's how you know who's who. So she has the feather on her head. And so specifically, it is the shuti feather. So it is ostrich feather. And just because I'm random and nerdy, the Ma'at feather or the ostrich feather, there is a theory that says when you look at an ostrich feather, it's equal on both sides. So that it's thought that's why that specific feather was used. And then plus the fact that like it's big so it can be seen. And then the fact that, it's fluffy. So the visual of that weighing against a heart is why it was chosen. Who knows? It's just a theory, but I thought that was kind of cool. So Ma'at or Mayats, some people you'll hear them say, essentially she was thrust into the world or born into the world through Heka. So when Neter Ra or Atum Ra, depending on which story you're reading, or it might just be Atum, when he emerged, essentially existence existed and Ma'at also existed. So it's like once existence kind of came to be, Ma'at existed so that everything can now be put in order. So she is seen as the oldest, well, not the oldest, but one of the oldest Neteru. I'm going to leave it at that. So she's sometimes referred to as the Eye of Ra. So there are some stories where like Ra will send his eye out, and oftentimes like it's Ma'at or Mayat. Her consort equivalent, or AKA her husband, is Jehuti, Tehuti. So it's interesting that he is like wisdom and divine knowledge, and she is, balance and so on and so forth. I mean, Jehudi also has been associated with Shashat. So, both, again, makes sense. They're both in alignment with each other. So her ideological opposite is Isfet. So Isfet is pretty much everything that Ma'at is not. So injustice, chaos, violence, or evil. So a lot of times people will say Satek or Satesh is evil. He is bad. Like, no, he's not. He has what we would consider to be negative qualities, but he is not evil. He has his divine place and space. Isfet, as seen through Apep, or what we call in Greek Apophis, he is the eater of the light. He is who chases Ra to eat the light. And again, if you eat the light, everything is going to get thrown out of whack. Like, if we're thinking thousands of years ago, no sun, no crops, no civilization, everything goes nuts. Not that different now. Just think about what it's like, when it rains for more than 3 or 4 days. You're just like, oh my God, I'm getting cabin fever. So, but in general, when we think of Ma'at or Mayat, her name translates as to that which is straight. So again, that is implying order, justice, harmony, etc. So Ma'at vis-a-vis Ma'at. So in our humanness, like, so some people are like, oh, the Neteru, or when they say like gods, they're just allegories. They're just like things for us to learn from. And I think that does a disservice to people in general. So, and as I have it there, like our humanness helps us to understand, and it frames the world we live in. So when we see Neteru that we can identify with, because again, saying truth, justice, righteousness, harmonious balance, like some days Miguel wakes up and I'm like, F that. I want to roll over, eat cookie dough, and lounge and watch something on net. Oh, I want to catch up on One Piece. That's what I want to do. Low-key, I actually do want to catch up on One Piece. But I'm not thinking about all those abstract, principles and stuff like that. I'm just thinking about I'm in my humanness right now. But when I can see something that reflects that humanness back to me, it does make it a little more easier, especially, if life is life, and it makes it easier to just kind of help me help the universe, help me. It helps in general. So but in general, Western religion and spirituality oftentimes looks at God outside ourselves. I definitely think the New Age, spirituality movement is shifting that. But if we're just looking at tradition, like it's this idea that God is in the sky, and it's far away, and I just need to do whatever the pasta monster in the sky says, and that's cool. um and that reference was for pastatarians, if you never heard of those. It's a funny made up religion, it's not real. But anyways, so again, just back to the point before I got totally off. The way I identify with Ma'at a lot of times is through the symbols. It is through the visuals, because I know me, I'm a visual learner. I learn through music. I learn through, like I said, not just reading, but the pictures, the videos, all of that. So if we even look at young people now, or just people in general, how much we use emojis, how much we shorten our speech. But we're okay with visuals. Like nowadays, kids don't want to read, and I know this because they literally told me 2 weeks ago. They were like, why read when I could just watch a video? Straight like that. So if that's the young, what they say, truth comes from the babes, or however that saying goes, it's true about all of us. It's easier. So when I look at a Natert or a personification of these principles, it just makes it a little bit easier. So I really wish we would stop with the conversation about like, oh, you believe in this, or oh, you, like, we treat people like they're idiots, like, because they have a certain belief or a certain way of communing with the divinity that is within themselves, that they are a piece of and a part of. We are a reflection, and this is very much Kemetic mindset. We are very much a reflection of the outer. What is it? As above, so below. As above, so below. As without, so within. I feel like I'm missing a part, but Google it. Don't judge me. So just to kind of start wrapping everything up, application. So how Kemetu experience and express Ma'at? So back in the day, Ma'at was very much considered nourishment of all of the other Neteru, because she existed from the beginning of time. And when I say she, I mean the principles, I mean little m as well as big M. She existed from the beginning of time. So when it came to giving ritual offerings or anything like that, you would always see offerings of Ma'at, little m. So I offer truth. I offer balance. This is what I give back. So, and I am giving, let's say if I am working, I actually am literally working with Osset and Het Haru. So if I am working with Osset, I want to offer her Ma'at. And that is to say, and I'll try to like switch up how I'm saying this. So if I understand Osset to be devotion, my devotion, whether that be, again, devotion to my goals, devotion to healing, devotion. I'm telling you way too much about myself right now. Anyway, but if that's what I'm going for, I want to approach that with ma'at. I want to offer my devotion ma'at. I want to be able to say, oh, okay, as I am devoting myself, am I being within order and balance? Am I being reciprocal with my devotion? Or am I wasting time pouring and devoting into things that I shouldn't be? Um, if I am working on a health regimen, like, am I approaching my devotion to my health regimen with ma'at, or am I going to the gym 7 days a week, breaking down my body, and yay, I could get some results, but now I might mess up my knees and have to go to physical therapy. So this is why when we say little m big M, we have to be able to understand the difference between the two, but then also, how does that fit into my everyday life? Now if we wanted to be way more literal, and I have been saying this for like the past hour and change, um reciting, meditating, reflecting on the 42 Tepra and Ma'at, on the 10 Maju, Semiket and Shetzi. This is incredibly beneficial for modern practitioners because, again, I don't need my boss to check me. I don't need a car accident to check me. I don't need a bounced bill, a light going out, a falling out of a friendship. I don't need traumatic, huge life events to bust me upside the head and be like, yo, get it together. You're off. You're not in alignment. If I am doing these things constantly, what do they say? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. This is the comedic version of exactly that. And then further, if something is going wrong, so if we look back in ancient Kemet, there really, really aren't actual temples for Ma'at with the big M. It's more so like you'll see an altar for Ma'at in another Netaru's temple. Again, because Ma'at is seen to be as part of everything and everyone at all times, of the entire creation of, the planets, the stars, everything. She is order in everything. So she didn't need to have her own singular place because she's literally everywhere and part of everything. So, modern practitioners, so if you look at my background, like, this is kind of like my Ma'at-ish altar, if you will. Ma'at is part of my name, MenyetAnkh Ma'at Menta. She who finds pleasure living in Ma'at is firmly established on earth. So I definitely have a very special place for Ma'at in my life and in my heart. So but if we are sitting here and saying, oh, okay, well, what about that personified version of Ma'at? How can that be helpful? And again, some people love altar work, love the visuals, love, again, it gives you a place, space, it gives you boundaries, it gives you freedom to be able to just work with that energy. Some people, they may not need it. Everybody's different. But if something is going wrong, being able to sit and have a visual, like, some meditations are like, you're just like staring at an image. So maybe staring at the image, maybe lighting a Ma'at candle, and then you have the certain fragrance that is associated with her energy. So as you're, and I'm saying I'm like talking about me, but as I'm going around my apartment, I'm smelling this smell. I'm thinking about it. Okay, even if I'm cleaning, okay, how can I make sure, like, did I get the baseboards? Did I get behind the toilet bowl? Let me make sure I try to get everything so that if I say I'm going to clean, it's clean. So again, being able to think about, like, if Ma'at was going to walk into my apartment, walk into my life, watch me all day, what would she say? I find that to be very helpful. One time I heard someone say, we fight so much when we're children, um, and teenagers especially, like, oh, I don't want to listen to my parents, da 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 da. But maturing and growing up is learning how to be your own parent. And there are some things in life where, okay, maybe we don't have the best examples of parents, but no one is motherless and fatherless in this incarnation, because if the very least we have the Neteru to show, guide, and be examples of what to do and what not to do. Because again, depending on the mythos, you may need to say, hey, you know what, Asara messed up over here, and that's because he was out of Ma'at. So again, they go together, and this is how you can better understand, okay, how do I move? And again, this idea of discipline, I can look at the examples of the Neteru, I can look at the examples of the people in my life, I can look at the example, I can look around me, and I trust myself to understand the information that is coming in, and I understand Ma'at, and how can I balance this out so that I can have the best human experience possible. And I'm not always going to hit the mark, because, I've only been on this earth 5 years, 19 years, 30 years. Like, I've and again, I'm not talking about what do you call it, like reincarnation and like soul, what is it, Akashic records, or I don't know if I said that right. I'm not talking anything like that. I'm literally talking the most human experience. Like, this brain does not remember any other human experience. This is my first crack at this. We are all learning. But if I'm learning, again, I can go back to the ancestors and learn from them. I can learn from the Neteru, what have you. So this can help us in our societal relationships. Like, some people, oh, like, like, what is it? Oh, you got, you're save the dolphins and save this. And, but we have toxic dumping. It's happening, like fracking. As much as we want to say, economics and this, that, and the third, there are things that are going on that we are sacrificing part of this earth, which again, if we go through the 42, there is a part in there before the actual formal 42 that says, like, yo, you got to take care, you have to be responsible and ma'atic when it comes to dealing with the land, with the animals, with the other species. And because again, our belief is that we are all one. I am the stars. I am oh my gosh, what is that cute little hippo? Mudang or whatever, from, I think she's like from Malaysia or Thailand. Cutest little baby hippo. Like, yeah, I'm that little hippo too. I'm I'm this blade of grass. I am the leaves falling off the trees because it's autumn time. All of this is me. So if I respect myself, how am I treating the other reflections of myself? How am I treating the other reflections of divinity? And even if it's not divinity, again, for atheist folk and stuff like that, because atheist people have their own, morals and values and things like that. But if we are putting capitalistic value above this place that we live, I just question, again, what are you doing and why are you doing it? Like, what is really motivating that? So again, how are we applying Ma'at to our health? How are we applying it to our career? And when I say it, her, to our careers, our finances, our general quality of life, the if you want, the Nguzo Saba. So like if we're talking about Kujijakalia, how are we using Ma'at to do that? Or our Ujima or our Ujima? Like, how all Ma'at can be help us understand and focus on any of these aspects of life. And then if we really want to get into, and again, last episode, I was talking about racism and justice and education and like all of those societal things. So Ma'at is everywhere. It literally, she is part of everything. And it is the crux of Kemetic living. So I just go back to the initial whole reason why we were supposed to have this conversation in the first place. Like, you know, people within the conscious community saying that Kemites are irrelevant, that the things that we do don't matter, or, you know, they're just silly, and so on and so forth. And I really, really, really go back to the point of, are you truly observing and interacting with Kemetic practitioners and Kemet you, or are you dealing with a digital face on a screen whom you've never met, who you don't know them outside of the stuff that comes out of their mouth so that they can get clicks and engagement? So I would request that we as a conscious community, I will even venture to say woke community. I'm not a fan of that word because it's definitely been co-opted, but are we really keeping it real? Are we being truthful? Are we being balanced? Are we being reciprocal? Are we cultivating order? Or are we getting taken in by the algorithm? Are we being taken in by a life that our soul didn't even agree to? And we're just focusing on bills and trauma and just negativity to get by, because I just got to get up and go to work tomorrow. And I don't have the time, place, or space to think further than what is in front of me, because I ain't had it. I might not ever get it. And I'm just stuck here. So, just putting that question out there for us to maybe reflect on, you know, maybe, you know, have other conversations like that. So to close out for tonight, if you are interested in learning more about Maat, and just the basic foundational pieces of Kemetic living, I highly recommend Egyptian Divinities by Mustafa Gadala. He is, and I definitely had that book earlier today, and I put it somewhere, and I'm like, I don't know where I put it. So I have it somewhere, but it's a really, really good book, because every chapter is perhaps like no more than 10 pages, but this specific book goes through various Neteru. Excuse me. And the Neteru that he goes through, it just has like a very simple, quick, easy breakdown of what they're about, what their energy is about, like various histories on them. It's a very easy, quick read. It's very like newbie user friendly. I'm going to skip that one real quick, and I'm going to say this one. So life-centered, A Life-Centered Life, Living Ma'at by Raketi Amen. So as you see, like, it's very, very simple, easy to read text. And one, if you don't know anything about Dr. Raketi, she is one of the first and only Black women who can read, write, understands, teaches Sesh Medu Nature, and just in general is very, very much trying to through language, because again, as human beings, we understand and frame our world through language. So if you really, really are serious or interested in actually living Ma'at, she comes from like that linguistic angle, but this in general, it actually says this booklet, so it is it's a fast read. I'm gonna go in a different order, so I'm gonna go to the next one. So the Gifts of Ma'at. This one I specifically bought for this series, and I like this one specifically because, especially towards the end of the book, it has a lot of journal prompts that get you to really think about Ma'at and what it looks like to you, and just kind of work through certain stuff. So this one is really good for that. This one is like huge. So this book, Maat, Guiding Principles for Moral Living. The first section is primarily like just history, historical commentary, talking about the American experience, blah, blah, blah. I've already said my piece about that. But what I do really like about this book is in the next section, it really has a thorough breakdown, especially from the African American perspective of what Ma'at looks like. And again, those questions that we need to think about within ourselves, within our communities. So just real quick, so inner self guidelines. So like how to live with dignity, honor, and self-respect. How do you actually practice Ma'at? Learning from your mistakes, giving things your best, how to build character, how to practice discipline, learning from struggle, seeking happiness. I'm like trying to skip around. All right, book. All right, so yeah, trusting your heart, your moral system. So then the next part, it talks about the book of youth principles. So it's something that you could talk about with children. So if you do have children, especially page 233. So how to start talking about these things with kids. So love yourself first, family first, blah, blah, blah. It does have morning declarations. Again, if 42 are just too much, this has like a smaller version and they break it up. It talks about daily routines. It talks like it really is helpful, especially for beginners. If you really don't have a starting place, or maybe you have an area where you're just like, I don't know how to troubleshoot this. This book is definitely helpful for that specifically. And last book is like ginormous. It's in the other room. It's like an encyclopedia. It's like huge. So this is a new text by Dr. Tamra. I never know how to say her last name. Sudia, something like that. She is the Nasut for Kemetic Orthodox practitioners. But this book is so good because she literally has, so Egyptian Divinities by Mustafa Gadala is like quick, easy read. This book is way more thorough. She goes through the epithets. She goes through who they're related to, different hymns for them, what their holidays are, what they wear, what offerings you should give, what their iconography, their symbol. Like she is very, very thorough. So she has cataloged all of the Neteru from Kemet as well as Nubia. And that's a lot. So that's why that book is so thick. But as a reference, it is incredibly helpful. Again, if you want to do the work, like altar work or work with the personified versions of the Neteru, that book is like hands down super, super helpful. So with that, I am Sanet MenyetAnkh Ma'at Menta. I hope what I shared tonight was helpful. I would like to say, if you do have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. Or you can leave a comment, and because now I'm going to switch my screens and go over and look at the comments. But I also would like to put out there, if you all have any topics, not confrontational, is this group better than that group, like not that kind of stuff. But if there are any kinds of things where it's like, well, how do Kemetic people feel about this? Or what's the Kemetic view on that? How can I, what would a Kemite say to something like, this situation or that situation? Definitely feel free to reach out, leave a comment, and I have no problem responding to that. And then my last thing is, I do have a series, Monday Morning Ma'at. So it's at 7 a.m. Eastern time, and it's on Instagram Live. I did put it down for a little while, but it is my intention to bring that back coming in January. So the idea is every Monday we start off the week. We're talking about one of the principles of Ma'at, one of the Tebra and Ma'ats, and I just really break them down one by one, what it looks like, how it feels, how it smells, how, things that we could try to look out for when it comes to that certain one. But it's really, really helpful because it's at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of the week. So it just kind of helps, get the mind flow going. So with that, I will say dua.
Well done as always. Well done as always. I see that when I'm not
No.
constantly interrupting you, we don't go 3 or 4 hours. So that's why I was trying my best not to. I was like, nah, let me not. I'm gonna shut up. So I just kept my mic on mute.
So now that you're not on mute,
yeah, I got some questions, but I'm gonna save them. I'm gonna save them for
one.
Yeah. So real quick, what's the distinction? And if you covered it, I apologize because I did run upstairs. What's the distinction or dichotomy between upper and lowercase Maat?
So that's easy. So lowercase Ma'at is really just talking about like the principles in general. Uppercase Ma'at is really when you're talking more about the natert, the personification of the principles. That's pretty much it.
Okay. And is Ma'at strictly identified with feminine energy? And if not, is there a male counterpart to that? Would that be Jehudi, or is that even something that's a thing?
So the actual principles are embodied through a I'm trying to think of how I want to answer this. So it is a natert, which we consider, feminine. If we were going to just kind of go into that exactly, like what exactly it means to be feminine or masculine, we understand that we all hold both within us, because again, masculine is like the outward, feminine is the inward expression. So technically, the answer would be no. She has her consort, she has her husband, her mate. She goes, she is in alignment with Jehuti, but there is no male nature that I know of. Maybe Dr. Tamara Sudia got somebody in that big behind encyclopedia of hers, because I've only looked at a couple of the Neteru in there. I haven't looked at each and every one. So perhaps there is one. I do not know of a male version. But and I think that's an interesting question because oftentimes a lot of women that I experience are very hesitant to work with male Neteru, and a lot of males are hesitant to work with female Neteru because it's this idea of like, it's like a very Western way of thinking, because it's like you're like, I would want to say, like, to you specifically, like you would want to work with Osset because she's talking about your devotion, your magic, your how you can manifest. Well, not manifestation is more het haru, but like that kind of energy you need. The execution is not going to be feminine, but that's what she represents. So working with her is not going to make you more feminine. It's just working on, again, devotion is an internal thing. That's something that's within. That's not it. It does have an action element to it. But again, that action element would be that balance between Osset and Asar. So it really isn't, like I said, like a lot of people kind of get hung up on that. But again, I highly suggest please leave that with the Europeans. Like that's
Gotcha.
not it. That's not over
So
here.
that's not even something that should be
Mm-mm.
focused on when dealing with Maat.
No. Because again, my aunt was in every temple. She had her own altar within many temples, like, or in households and things like that. She was seen as part of everything. So just because, again, because truth, righteousness, balance, all of those are things that you know, that's your internal world. That's how you're looking at the world around you. You again put it into action later on, but it's cultivated within. It doesn't have to do with necessarily, like, if we were to say men, that's your physical virility. You know what I mean? Like that's a physical, that's an outward thing. So it's just really, again, what are you working on? What are you trying to work on? And how do you want to express that? Because you could work with my aunt, but it be a masculine expression. There's no problem with that.
Gotcha. I got one more.
Okay.
So now, do you have to be comedic to practice Maat?
Okay. So well, so they are seen as universal principles. Like it is not, because if we were to go back to ancient Kemet is a collection of various groups of people of various belief and so on and so forth. So it's not you have to. However, um, I very much question how one dedicates themselves to living a life of Ma'at without being comedic. You know, like it's just like you're gonna recite these 42, you're gonna meditate on this, you're gonna look at the iconography, you're gonna use all and that's low-key part of my issue with some of the things that were put out there by our elders, because these things are being used by other groups of people, but it's spiritually, in my opinion, irresponsible, because they have their own things that they're beholden to, which is causing, like, not necessarily clash, but internal clash, because again, other systems are taught it has to be that way. Whereas within Kemet, we're able to have that flexibility. Again, it doesn't have to just look like this. It doesn't have to look just like that. So I think that's more so on the person than it does the system.
Okay. Gotcha. I don't see any questions in the chat about I see some questions about you that I'm not going yeah, you know, the typical.
Yeah. Not gonna go there, y'all. We came for the information.
So yeah, I think it is fair to say we can get out of here. I'm gonna find a nice little song to take us out.
Okay.
And when can the family expect part 3 of this presentation? And keep in mind, I'm gonna be gone for at least 2 weeks, maybe more than that. But you're free to come on.
Over, so we'll start talking about potentially November.
Okay, I got you. I was gonna say you're free to come on without me now. You know, you don't. You know, it's your kingdom. So I mean,
much appreciation, do I?
Let's see. I guess I'll play Neo Love. Family, as always, the Queen did her thing. I hope y'all learned something. I hope y'all got some insight. Hope y'all was able to take some things to account, to heart. For those who maybe been on the fence about looking into living within the power of Maat on a deeper level and venturing into the Kemetic tradition, maybe this helped you make up your mind. Either way, you can find the Queen right here. She showed you where her YouTube channel was. Y'all go check that out, subscribe, follow her on Instagram. all of the different platforms that she participated in. Hit that cash out. You might want to check that too, sis. And she'll be back over here doing her thing as always. So, like she said, we'll be looking at November maybe for the next one. Until next time, y'all know what it is. It's Paradigm Shift TV 314. That is peace. We'll be black at it sooner than you can think. So, let me find Neo Love and take y'all out of here.
Yeah. I know I got about 30 seconds to make y'all feel this before y'all turn it off these days. That I might not even release here. But I be doing this shit for me, help me get through. I feel like I give until I can't, but most don't recognize until I ain't. Blood on them covers, she hoping paint. Sorry mama, but it ain't. This world took a toll on me, and everyone that say they love me always seem to follow me. The same one that call me great, treat me like I ain't shit. I read between the lines, it's written all over your eyes. I see the disappointment in the eyes of the ones who want me dead, but I ain't never been scared. I tried to get there. Sometimes I wonder if I survived or did I die.